Hey, what's up, people? Brothers and sisters of the cloth. I'm Carpo, or Josh, and I have absolutely nothing to say today, so I'm just going to sit here. No, I'm kidding, of course. I always got something to say, don't I? I've made like 3 videos this morning and the sun hasn't even come up yet. I guess it must be one of those mornings, but anyway, I'm sorry to everybody that I ramble sometimes so much, and I'll try to keep my videos to a decent length. And I've said that before, like for the last year, but sometimes the subjects go on and on. But this morning I wanted to come out and do a video about compassion and empathy and sympathy. Basically, feeling emotional for another person for their situation. Now, I'm not talking about a person who's dying, or even a person who may be really sick, or a person who lost a family member, or any of that. I mean, waking up in the morning and seeing your kid laying on the couch with the blanket hanging off his feet, and feeling bad because his feet might be cold. Okay, and this seems like just kind of an obvious. For a lot of people, might think that that's just what we do. We're humans, we help one another. But it's not that simple. There's a lot to be said about natural selection, natural law, and behavioral patterns that makes you ask, why do we help one another? Now, evolutionally, I guess it would be, there are advantages to working and cooperating with the group. There are advantages as the bird in the middle of the woods that calls out to the rest. The one who warns everyone that danger is coming at the expense of his own location and being found. That's altruism, okay? Altruism means that you're sacrificing your own good for the greater good. And what is the greater good? Is there a greater good? And do we know what that greater good is instinctually? Or is it something that's programmed? And that's what I want to talk about here, because one might say that compassion is programmed, that it's something that society is ingrained within us and instilled in us over years and years of, evolution. So that might be true to an extent, but it would only be beneficial if it was actually evolutionary beneficial. So if it was assisting us in promoting or perpetuating our species, then it might be beneficial to help one another. Obviously, if you can help another on the side of the road, then that could, save another person from your species. But consider if somebody's hurt on the side of the road, or if another animal, let's say, gets hurt in an attack, and then a healthy animal is out there trying to save him. That puts the healthy animal at danger. That puts the genetics even more at danger than if the one would just run away and say, later, bro. And with humans, there's two major, I guess, what pops into my head, because I don't know the science behind this, but there's 2 major lines of thinking I would imagine would be behind sympathy. And one or empathy, helping another out in the danger to oneself, altruism, okay? There would be 2 reasons for that. One would be that it helps the species as a whole. That it assists those who are in danger in order to perpetuate the species. Yet, if the foolish animals in that species were the ones that got themselves hurt, why would we want to save those genetics? It's kind of that thinking. Well, the other line of thinking is guilt. And that would only work for humans, You walk away from an accident, somebody's dying, and you don't help them, you're going to feel guilty, okay? Now, here's my question. Is that guilt that we feel, is that divine? Is that natural? Or is that something that we have created and we have ingrained into our genetics? Because, our genes are affected by everything. We were told growing up that, one parent gives you some information, another parent gives you some information, you combine that information and make a new genetics for a new baby. And that that baby will carry those genetics to pass on to their baby without changing from environmental sources, like as much as they do. In other words, you get as much genetic variability from the environment around you as you did from your parents. And we really are at the mercy of our own thoughts and actions. So, without getting too far away from the subject there, I guess it would be altruism in its human form. It's helping another and endangering yourself. That's one of the biggest, deepest questions in philosophy at all. There's been dozens of thinkers through history who have tried to process that why we have altruistic behavior. And only recently, I guess, were able to get down to the genetic level to understand a little bit more about humans. And also have the technology to search the animal kingdom to see how they react to these things. And we find that animals do have altruistic behavior. Okay, they sacrifice themselves for each other. Why? Why? Why are we not selfish? Well, one could say that it's because you can't reproduce by yourself. Well, that brings up another question. Why? Why can't you reproduce by yourself? Then one might say, well, you need both parents so you can have both genetic factors, to help fight disease and whatnot. This is why you don't reproduce within families, because the genetic line becomes faulty and you are way more open to diseases because you don't have that genetic variability that comes with two different parents. But why? Why can't we reproduce asexually, And why can't, if the environment can alter our genetics, why can't it just alter them appropriately to where when we reproduce asexually, then we have a totally different kid? It's because we humans desire connection and compassion. Now, this is the ultimate evidence for this. That, some people think they can go off and live on their own and be happy for the rest of their lives, and maybe they can. 99% of us, we need other people. And this is a genetic trait. This is something that has been developing within us. In other words, a condition of nature that is not necessarily the most beneficial way to move forward for a species, but one that allows for variation within the species. Male, female, balance, black and white, yin yang. Compassion. Peace.